A hush falls over the Meridian Club's marble lobby until head receptionist Sarah Chen's voice cuts through like a whip. Sir, you need to leave immediately. This is a private members-only club. Marcus Williams stands rooted booking confirmation in hand as her finger drifts toward the panic button. Luxury watches glint under crystal chandeliers. Phones emerge, cameras pivot, and within heartbeats, a routine check-in morphs into a viral flashpoint of racial profiling. Strangers lean forward, whispers ripple into murmurs, and the pristine lobby becomes a stage for injustice. Have you ever been judged before you even spoke? Drop your thoughts in the comments, subscribe for the full saga, and stay tuned as we unpack every pulse-pounding beat of this unfolding corporate thriller. Marcus Williams paused just inside the grand entrance of the Meridian Club, his tailored navy suit a perfect match for the club's six-figure aesthetic. The mahogany reception desk stretched before him like a Byzantine fortress wall, and the palest hint of sweat coated his palms, not from nerves, but anticipation. He had reserved private room 7 weeks ago. Every detail had been confirmed by email. He tapped his polished Oxford against the marble floor, producing a faint echo that mingled with the soft murmur of other guests. Sarah Chen, 8 years into her role as head receptionist, watched him approach with practiced vigilance. Her perfectly manicured nails drummed the desk's surface as she tried to reconcile the man before her with the name on her screen. In her mind, she'd handled ticket mix-ups, last-minute walk-ins, and every special request imaginable, but something about Marcus threw her off balance. He possessed the quiet authority of someone accustomed to wielding power, yet his face remained a canvas of unflappable calm. Sir Sarah began, her voice clipped. She allowed just a fraction of hesitation before adding, "You need to leave immediately. This is a private members-only club." Her finger inched toward the hidden panic button beneath the desk. Marcus's eyebrows rose. He reached into his pocket, withdrew his phone, and opened the reservation email. "I have a confirmed booking for room 7 at 3:00 p.m., he said, voice steady enough to slice through the tension. The panic button hovered. Sarah's heartbeat pounded beneath starched silk. Every guest in the lobby sensed something was amiss. Behind Sarah, Amanda Hutchinson, a lifestyle blogger with 45,000 followers, raised her phone. The tiny red live icon pulsed in the corner of her screen. Within seconds, dozens of viewers tuned in hungry for the next shocking twist. Sarah's eyes flicked to the device. In that moment, she realized this was no ordinary complaint. Marcus stepped closer, his tone unwavering. "May I see your copy of my reservation?" he asked politely. Sarah's practiced smile tightened into a thin line. She refused, citing protocol. "We have policies for a reason," she said, as though reciting from a training manual. The lobby's atmosphere thickened. Silver champagne flutes tinkled on a nearby cart. A chef's apprentice lingered in the service window, blanching at the sight of the confrontation. Club members glanced up from their conversations with polite concern. Cameras emerged everywhere, smartphones, tablets, discreet but insistent. Finally, Sarah's finger pressed the button. A soft click echoed at the security desk around the corner. Within moments, Tom Rodriguez, the club's head of security, stepped into view. His uniform crisp, his jaw set, he surveyed the scene. "What's happening here?" he asked. Sarah exhaled. "This gentleman claims to have a reservation, but I can't find it in our system. I believe we need to escort him out." The color drained from Tom's face as he glanced at Marcus's composed expression and the growing crowd of onlookers recording every moment. Marcus took a breath, one measured, unhurried inhale that seemed to reset time. He reached into his breast pocket and produced his printed confirmation. The glossy sheen of the paper caught the chandelier's glow. Tom's jaw worked as he realized the error unfolding before him. The lobby's hush broke into a chorus of clicking shutters and murmured disbelief. Marcus placed the email printout on the desk, alongside his sleek American Express Centurion card. Small details of proof that should have settled the matter. Yet Sarah recoiled as though wounded. She had branded him a fraud without a shred of evidence. "Sir," she insisted, "you don't belong here." At that moment, the grandfather clock behind the reception desk chimed 3 times, 3 swinging gates of time that separated accusation from resolution. Marcus looked once more at the live-streaming crowd, then back at Sarah. He offered a slow nod. "Call your security," he said softly. "But let's do this properly." And with that, the Marble Lobby ambush exploded into a stage for the next act of this corporate thriller, where every protocol, every assumption, and every heartbeat would be tested against one man's unshakable dignity. Sarah's fingers hovered over the keyboard as she scrolled past booking reference after booking reference, each name more plausible than the last, until she landed on M. Williams' private room, 7:30 p.m., party of 2. The words glowed on her screen, but she refused to believe what she saw. Her breath caught. She looked up at Marcus with incredulity, voice brittle M. Williams. "That can't be you." He offered a patient smile as though the entire opulent lobby were his private drawing room. "It is me," he said quietly. "I booked it myself." Sarah's shoulders stiffened. She tapped a few more keys, eyes darting between the screen and the 50-odd people now watching, phones raised in the air. Behind her, Amanda Hutchinson's live stream had exploded from dozens to hundreds of viewers in seconds. The little red live icon blinked insistently in the corner of the screen. Comments scrolled by in a blur. "This is unbelievable. Call the news, #Meridian Bias." Yet Sarah pressed on, reciting club policy like a litany. "Our membership cards are required to activate any reservation made under a single initial." M. Williams could be anyone. She tapped her screen, bringing up the Membership Protocol Handbook. It's right here in Section 4.1. Reservations under non-exact name entries require presentation of membership credentials at check-in. Marcus's expression never wavered. He took a step closer, producing the 2 first-class boarding passes tucked into his jacket pocket. He fanned them out like a magician, revealing his cards. The gold lettering gleamed beneath the chandeliers. First-class Meridian Airways, Seat 1A, Seat 1B. I've carried these all the way from the tarmac. If my name or identity were in question, I would understand your caution. Sarah cut him off. That's airline policy, not ours. She glanced at her terminal again. We have no record of your membership. A hush rippled through the crowd. The only sound was Amanda's phone mic capturing every clipped syllable and rattled breath. Marcus's composure hardened but did not crack. He reached into his wallet, revealing a sleek Centurion card, its polished surface reflecting the room's glow. "This American Express Centurion card is issued to me," he said calmly. "I'm an authorized user on my father's account. If you need further verification, I can call your manager." Sarah's jaw clenched. She would not back down. She turned to the silent desk phone and dialed. The live stream viewer count jumped again. 800, 900, 1,000. As people realized this confrontation was fast becoming a story they'd share. She leaned forward, pinning Marcus with narrowed eyes. "This is a private club with private membership. We don't take calls for room verification. You need to produce your membership card, or you need to leave." Marcus closed his eyes for a split second, gathering himself. When he opened them, they were sharper than before. The hum of whispered conversations in the lobby faded beneath his pulse. "I will not leave," he said, voice low and unwavering. "I've done nothing wrong. You cannot expel me from a club room I've legally reserved." Behind Sarah, Tom Rodriguez, the club's head of security, stepped into the frame, cross-armed and alert. He scanned Marcus's face, then the crowd. "What seems to be the problem here?" he asked, voice steady but tinged with curiosity. Sarah nodded toward Marcus. "He has no membership card. He can't show us any proof that he belongs." Tom turned to Marcus. "Sir, I'm going to need you to step aside so we can sort this out." His tone was polite but firm, as though he'd done this 1,000 times. Marcus nodded, stepping back only inches. "That's fine," he said. "But I'd like to record this interaction for my own records." He already had Instagram Live running on his own phone camera, tilted to capture the reception desk, his confident figure, and the gathering crowd. 1,500 viewers. Comments poured in. "He's staying. This is 2025. How is this still happening?" Tom glanced at Sarah, saw her hesitation, and sighed. "Fine." He motioned to an empty stretch of marble floor. "We'll keep this between you and me." Sarah's lips pressed into a thin line, but she didn't protest. Instead, she thrust forward her hand and snatched the printed reservation confirmation Marcus had finally laid on the desk. She scanned the paper as though it were a crime scene photo. Lines of text, confirmation numbers, room assignments, every detail was laid bare, but still she refused to believe. "I'm waiting," she said, voice taut. "Your membership card." Marcus inhaled as though drawing strength from the marble beneath his feet. "You've seen everything you need to see," he said softly. "If you doubt me, call my father." Sarah's eyes flicked to Amanda's stream, then to Tom, and finally back to Marcus. She shook her head, exasperation edging into panic. "You can't just drop the card requirement because you're someone's son." Tom shifted his weight, scanning the lobby one more time. Eyes were on them, some sympathetic, many stunned, a few scowls. Phones bobbed like fireflies. The air smelled faintly of polished wood and panic. "I'm calling my manager." Sarah snapped. She dialed on the desk phone, her finger trembling. "Jennifer, I need you down here now. There's a situation." "Situation," Marcus echoed. His own live stream chat exploded, viewers imploring him to hold strong. "Don't back down. We're all watching." Before Sarah could reply, the silent intercom buzzed in the manager's office around the corner. A few tense seconds later, Jennifer Brooks, the club manager, appeared at the reception desk. Her tailored blazer and crisp blouse betrayed 15 years in hospitality. She took in the scene in a single sweep. Sarah's white-knuckled grip on the phone, Tom's measured concern, Marcus's unflappable stance, and the swarm of onlookers. "Tell me what's happening," Jennifer demanded, voice professional but wary. Sarah launched into her explanation. "Mr. Williams claims he booked private room 7 under M. Williams. He has no membership card. He refuses to leave. There's a live stream. Amanda Hutchinson is broadcasting this to hundreds of viewers. I don't know what to do." Jennifer looked down at the screen for a long moment. Then she turned to Marcus. "Sir, are you certain about this reservation?" "Absolutely," he replied, extending the printed email once more. "I booked it last week for my business partner. My reservation is legitimate." Jennifer pulled a guest ledger from beneath the desk and scrolled with practiced fingers. The lobby watched in silence. She exhaled as her eyes locked on the entry M. Williams Private Room 7300 p.m. Party of 2. She let out a breath. "It's here," she said. "But our policy requires membership verification for reservations made under a single initial. If you cannot produce your membership card, I can't check you in." Marcus's calm gaze was unwavering. "Then update your policy," he said softly, "or make an exception for a paying guest who is entitled to the room he reserved." Jennifer's jaw tightened. The lobby's energy shifted. The crowd leaned in as though the next word might detonate the entire confrontation. Sarah bit her lip. She glanced at Amanda's phone, 500 viewers now. "How about this?" Jennifer said at last. "Step into my office. We'll sort it out privately and get you to your room." Marcus smiled. "I didn't come here to hide." He gestured at the lobby. "I came here to conduct my business in room 7. If you cannot accommodate me in front of your guests..." Jennifer held up her hand. "I can." She motioned toward a nearby velvet rope opening a path through the crowd. "Make your way through, please." Sarah swallowed. Tom stepped aside. Amanda's stream continued to roll, capturing Marcus's triumphant stride past the reception desk and through the parted waves of curious onlookers. 100 viewers, 4,000. As Marcus passed, he offered Sarah a nod, so slight it might have gone unnoticed, the gentlest acknowledgement of the injustice she'd inflicted. Then he crossed the threshold, disappearing behind the heavy oak doors to the private corridor. The lobby exhaled. Past lenses clicked once or twice more, then steadied. Jennifer exhaled, pinching the bridge of her nose. "Sorry," she said to Sarah, voice quiet. "I'll handle this." Sarah's shoulders slumped. She nodded, rubbing her palms against her skirt. "Yes, ma'am." Amanda Hutchinson's voice rose, capturing the moment. "And that, folks, is how you stand up to discrimination. Stay tuned. We'll be following every beat." Back at the reception desk, phones lit up with texts from board members and legal counsel. The private corridor's doors closed, muffling Marcus's footsteps, but not the echo of his dignity. And as the Meridian Club's staff braced for the next act, one truth hung in the air. No policy, no matter how layered in protocol, could outweigh a man's right to occupy the space he lawfully reserved. Jennifer Brooks's heels clicked like a metronome as she strode into the marble lobby, assessing the tableau at a glance. Phones hovered inches from glowing screens. A silent crowd pressed in. Sarah Chen hovered behind the reception desk, knuckles white on the handset. Tom Rodriguez and two other security officers formed a semicircle around Marcus Williams. The air smelled of polished wood and tension. "I'm the manager," Jennifer announced, voice steady but firm. Her tailored navy skirt suit and crisp white blouse spoke of 15 years in luxury hospitality. "What seems to be the problem here?" Sarah exhaled sharply into the phone. "Ms. Brooks, this gentleman, Mr. Williams, claims to have a valid reservation for private room 7, but we have no membership verification. He insists the booking is correct, but our policy—" "Policy?" Jennifer interrupted. She glanced at Marcus's unruffled figure. He stood with that effortless dignity she had seen in boardroom photos, a calm center in a storm of protocol. "May I see the reservation details?" Marcus offered the printed confirmation email. Jennifer took it, her practiced eyes scanning the text. M. Williams room 7:30 p.m. Party of 2. She nodded. "That is in order. Now, do you have a membership card, sir?" Marcus reached inside his jacket, but Sarah's voice cut in before he could produce anything. "Manager protocol requires membership credentials at check-in. We can't make exceptions." Jennifer's gaze flicked between Sarah's rigid posture and Tom's uncertain expression. "And you're willing to escalate this to a security incident over a simple check-in?" Her voice carried just enough steel to make Sarah pause. Behind them, Amanda Hutchinson's live stream count climbed into the thousands. Comments scrolled in real time. "Manager needs to step in. This is 2025. Why is this happening? We're watching every second." Jennifer turned back to Marcus. "Mr. Williams, would you prefer to handle this privately in my office? We can resolve your membership verification there without causing a scene." Marcus considered her offer for a heartbeat. The lobby's clash of whispers and phone shutters faded beneath his measured calm. "No, thank you," he said. "I'd rather settle this now." His voice held a quiet authority that rippled through the crowd. Sarah's hand flew to the panic button beneath the desk. "Ms. Brooks, this is out of control?" Jennifer raised a hand. "Enough!" She pivoted on her heel, addressing Tom and the other two officers. "Gentlemen, stand down from this posture. I'll handle the guest personally." She dismissed them with a wave that brooked no argument. Tom's shoulders slumped as he backed away, radioing that the emergency task was transferred. The lobby seemed to tilt on its axis. Witnesses exchanged stunned glances. Phones paused mid-recording. Jennifer turned to Sarah, voice lowered but firm. "We do not publicly shame paying guests. If you believe membership credentials are required, escort him to my office. Do not involve security again." Sarah's mouth closed and opened again as though she had swallowed her own tongue. She looked to Tom, then back to Jennifer. Finally, she nodded and motioned to a side corridor. "Sir, if you would come this way," Sarah stammered. Marcus inclined his head politely. "Lead on." The crowd parted as he and Sarah moved toward the private hallway. Jennifer followed close behind, intercepting Amanda's camera with a steady hand. "This is an internal matter," she said to the blogger. "Please respect our guest's privacy." Amanda hesitated, thumb hovering over the record button. The hush that followed was punctuated only by the soft click of heels on marble. Then as they turned the corner, the lobby exhaled. In the narrow corridor, Jennifer closed the door behind them. The rich scent of leather benches and hushed lighting contrasted sharply with the glitz of the lobby. Sarah closed the distance to the manager. I'm sorry," she whispered. "I was only trying to follow policy." Jennifer leaned back against the wall, arms folded. "You followed the letter, but not the spirit. Our policies exist to serve members, not to alienate them. You need to remember that." Sarah's eyes brimmed with tears, an uncommon sight from the rigid gate agent. "I've never faced anything like that. I was sure he was some scam artist." Jennifer pressed a hand to Sarah's shoulder. "Now you have. And you need to learn from this. People draw conclusions too quickly. It's our job to give them the benefit of the doubt first, especially when we're in the hospitality business." Sarah nodded, voice small. "Yes, ma'am. I understand." In the hallway, a faint thud echoed. Marcus knocked gently on the office door and entered, his composed smile untouched. He took in the small office, a mahogany desk, charter portraits on the wall, a single leather chair facing two more. Jennifer gestured to the chair. Please have a seat. Marcus closed the door and took his place, hands folded on his lap. He looked at Jennifer, then at Sarah. Thank you for bringing me in here privately, he said. Let's resolve this. Jennifer crossed to her desk and retrieved a leather-bound membership ledger. She flipped through until she found Marcus Williams and then froze. Sarah peered over her shoulder, and Jennifer's face drained of color. The ledger entry read, Williams Marcus Lifetime Member Meridian Club joined. January 2015. Lifetime member Jennifer repeated disbelief lacing her tone. When did this happen? Marcus smiled politely. I joined when my father and I finalized our family membership. He wanted me to experience this club's legacy, so we signed up the day we moved to the city. Sarah stared at the entry, realization dawning like a sunrise. I see. Her voice cracked. I'm so sorry, Mr. Williams. I never intended. Marcus held up a hand. I understand your concern, but we've lost valuable time. My business partner will be arriving in 10 minutes. Jennifer closed the ledger and placed it gently on the desk. She inhaled, posture straightening. Then let's make sure you get to room 7 immediately. And Sarah, let's both remember why we're here to serve our members. Sarah wiped her eyes and nodded. Yes, ma'am, right away. Marcus rose, offering a slight bow of gratitude. 3 quick taps on a silver intercom summoned a bellman within moments. Through the slightly ajar door, they could hear the murmur of the lobby staff now reshuffling, ready to move on to the next guest. As they returned to the lobby, they were greeted by a swirl of phones and flashed notifications. Amanda's live stream was still rolling, capturing Sarah leading Marcus across the threshold like an honored guest. The final frame lingered on his composed back, a figure unbowed by prejudice, reclaiming space he had always lawfully deserved. The caption scrolled beneath privilege, debunked in real time. Meridian. Moments, and the world watched, breath held for the next beat in this unfolding corporate thriller. Sir, your documents check out. The words cut through the marble lobby like a declaration of neutrality in a battlefield. Officer Martinez's uniform, crisp beneath the chandelier light, closed the leather wallet in his hands. Beside him, Patterson lowered his gaze from the Centurion card, black metal glinting defiantly, to the first-class lounge wristband clasped around Marcus's wrist. Martinez nodded to Patterson. Everything here is in order, he said, voice calm but carrying enough authority to still the murmurs that rippled through the gathered crowd. A collective exhale seemed to pass through the room. The dozen phones pointed at Marcus flickered as viewers on Amanda Hutchinson's live stream reached 3,000 and climbing. Faces in the crowd that had worn self-satisfied smirks just moments ago now shifted uncomfortably. Even Dr. Park, perched in a leather armchair to the side, straightened his medical bag resting forgotten against his knee. He pushed to his feet, eyes warm with vindication. I trust the officer's judgment, he said. There's no question of fraud here. Sarah Chen's shoulders sagged as though a weight had been lifted and replaced with one far heavier. Her hands, which had hovered over the panic button mere minutes ago, trembled now as she folded her arms. The staccato clicks of phone cameras stilled, but the live feed comments continued in an unstoppable torrent. Bias exposed. Security speaks truth, club's dirty secret revealed. Patterson cleared his throat, sensing the shift in the room. He took a step back, giving Marcus space. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, sir, he said, eyes flicking to Sarah, then to Jennifer Brooks, the club manager who stood just beyond the reception desk. It seems this was a misunderstanding. Marcus inclined his head. His reply was quiet, but carried across the hushed lobby. Thank you, officers. Jennifer closed the gap between the group and Martinez's voice measured. Please inform your team that Mr. Williams is cleared to proceed, she instructed. The officers dipped their heads and slipped away, surrendering the stage to the aftershocks of their verdict. In that silence, the club's discriminatory undercurrents lay fully exposed. Marcus's steel-gray eyes swept the crowd, staff members and bystanders alike. The luxury brands that adorned them, all those tailored suits, the glittering gemstones couldn't shelter them from the sudden glare of accountability. Even Sarah's pallid apology, mouthed but unsaid, hovered like a ghost between them. A lone bellman cleared his throat. Private Room 7, he announced, voice trembling with half relief. This way, sir. He bowed slightly, gesturing toward a side corridor. Marcus turned to Sarah, expression inscrutable. I'd appreciate an escort, he said, voice calm but edged with steel. My guest will be arriving shortly, and I'd like to ensure our meeting isn't delayed further. Sarah swallowed, then offered a shaky nod. Her confidence had fractured, replaced by a remorseful urgency. Right this way, Mr. Williams. She motioned down the corridor, managing a respectful distance. As they moved, Jennifer caught Amanda's eye. The blogger's camera still rolled lens fixed on Jennifer's face. Jennifer raised a hand, silencing the room. This matter is resolved, she declared, tone firm. Please allow Mr. Williams to proceed without further interruption. Phones lowered, but the tension lingered in the air like a held breath. Members who had once inclined their heads in stern approval now looked away, faces etched with discomfort. Marcus and Sarah disappeared around the corner with the bellman. Behind them, the lobby exhaled in a ripple of whispers. Dr. Park approached Jennifer, voice quiet but firm. You handled that well, he said, tipping his head toward the retreating figures. Allowing the security officers to speak first, that was smart. Jennifer gave a grateful nod, though her eyes betrayed exhaustion. I should have intervened sooner, she admitted. I allowed policy to override common sense. Dr. Park placed a hand on her shoulder. We all have that moment, he said. What matters is that you corrected course. Above them, the live stream count ticked higher, each viewer a witness to the club's reckoning. Jennifer pressed her lips together, then lifted her chin. Let's ensure this never happens again, she vowed. In the corridor, Marcus's stride remained unhurried. His tailored navy suit brushed the plush carpet as he passed portraits of past chairman men who had never faced such scrutiny. Yet Marcus knew today's events would join those walls as a warning no amount of tradition could eclipse the demand for justice. They rounded a corner into a quieter passage down which only the hushed echoes of distant conversation followed them. Sarah opened the door to the private elevator. Please, she said, stepping aside. He entered. As the doors slid closed, Sarah caught her reflection in the polished steel panels, shoulders dropped, lip trembling. She exhaled long and slow, steadying herself. The lobby's spectacle had ended, but for her, and for the Meridian Club, it was only the beginning of confronting their hidden biases. Back in the lobby, Amanda Hutchinson lowered her phone, turning to the crowd that lingered. You just saw history in action, she said softly. When discrimination is challenged, institutions change. Watch this space. Members and staff exchanged glances, the chandeliers above them winking in silent agreement. The club had faced its mirror, and the reflection demanded transformation. Outside, the live stream had already gone viral. Across the city, hotlines buzzed. Legal teams mobilized. Public relations strategists drafted statements. But within the Meridian Club's marble walls, a more profound shift had begun, the dismantling of assumptions, the sober reckoning with the power of prejudice, and the solemn promise that from this day forward, every guest would be seen for what they truly were, a valued individual, not a caricature shaped by bias. And somewhere deep in the private elevator, Marcus Williams exhaled. His documents had checked out, but far more importantly, the truth had out. And that was a verdict no protocol could override. The quiet hum of the private elevator gave way to a soft ping as the doors slid open onto the Meridian Club's polished hallway. Marcus Williams stepped out, business card in hand, exuding the same composed confidence that had unsettled receptionist Sarah Chen and manager Jennifer Brooks only minutes before. He paused under the ornate sconces, surveying the marble floor beneath his polished Oxfords. Behind him, the lobby's settled echoes of the security officer's verdict still lingered like a held breath awaiting release. The hallway stretched toward the grand staircase that led to the exclusive members' floors. Yet instead of turning away, Marcus lifted his chin and pocketed his Centurion card and wristband. He reached into his jacket again this time, withdrawing a simple white rectangle with gold-embossed lettering. He held it out in front of him, tilting it so that the overhead light caught every serif and flourish. Marcus Williams, Chief Executive Officer, Meridian Hospitality Group. In that instant, the hallway froze. The bartender polishing glasses at the corner station stopped mid-swirl. The coatroom attendant's brush hovered inches from the lapel of a member's trench. Even the distant clatter of the billiards table stilled, replaced by the faint rustle of silk and the soft click of shoes shifting on marble. Gossip from the lobby drifted upstairs on the air-conditioning sigh voices tinged with disbelief and dawning recognition. No one spoke. No one needed to. The card itself spoke volumes. The man they had caged in protocols and panic buttons was the very architect of the institution's empire, the CEO's son, the heir to the club's fortunes. Footsteps began to echo behind Marcus. First the silent shuffle of Sarah Chen, her face ashen, her practiced smile evaporated. Then Jennifer Brooks' coattails, brushing marble eyes, darting between the card and her colleague. A beat later, Manager Brooks reached a hand forward, trembling. "Mr. Williams," she breathed, voice hushed. I had no idea." Marcus inclined his head, never arrogantly, but with quiet authority. "I understand protocol," he said, "but no amount of policy should override common sense and respect." His tone was not accusatory, rather it carried the inevitability of truth laid bare. Jennifer swallowed, glancing toward the distant lobby doors, as if seeking refuge from her own mortification. We will amend our procedures immediately," she stammered. "Of course. Whatever you require, sir." The business card fluttered in Marcus's hand, and he slipped it into his jacket pocket. Behind him, the private elevator dinged again, its doors beckoning toward the club's inner sanctum. Yet he waited, allowing the magnitude of the moment to settle like soft velvet over the assembled staff. At last he spoke again. "I'm here on business," he said, voice carrying easily in the hushed corridor. "Mr. Yamamoto is landing soon. Private room 7 awaits. Shall we proceed?" A single nod from Jennifer was all he needed. She spun on her heel, gesturing with a sweep of her arm. "Right this way, sir." Her calm facade had shattered, replaced by the brisk efficiency of someone desperate to atone. They walked side by side toward the ornate staircase. Marcus's steps were deliberate, the click of his heels marking each stride like punctuation on an unspoken lesson. Respect must be paid before privilege can claim its due. As they descended the lobby, doors swung open, unleashing a flood of astonished glances. Amanda Hutchinson's camera lens tracked Marcus's progress, her live stream now surging past 20,000 viewers and climbing. The hashtag Meridian Coup blazed across the lower third of her screen, accompanied by on-screen comments churning in real time. CEO's son owned them, clubs exposed, watch protocol crumble. A hush fell over the lobby as Marcus passed. Members paused mid-conversation, cocktails held aloft in sudden stillness. Guests at the bar turned their heads, eyes wide, as they whispered to one another. Even the head chef, passing through the entrance with a tray of hors d'oeuvres, let one silver-domed plate rest on the counter, his brow furrowed in disbelief. At the foot of the stairs, Marcus paused and turned. He looked at Sarah Chen, who had followed him down but now hung back as if afraid to meet his gaze. "Miss Chen," he said, voice steady and forgiving, "a simple apology and a change in attitude will go a long way. But I expect more than that. I expect action. You'll remain on probation. Mandatory bias training starts tomorrow morning." "Understood." Sarah's nod was immediate, her eyes glistening. "Yes, Mr. Williams." "Thank you. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to correct this." "Good," Marcus replied. "Now, let's ensure no other guest ever faces this again." His hand rested briefly on her shoulder, a gesture of kinship rather than reprimand, before he turned back to the path leading to private room 7. Jennifer and Sarah melted aside, granting him clear passage as if he were a visiting sovereign reclaiming his realm. The grand double doors to private room 7 loomed ahead, mahogany, polished to a mirror sheen engraved with the club's crest. Marcus placed a hand on the intricately carved handle and turned back to the staff. "After you," he said simply. "I'll follow momentarily." Sarah exhaled, stepping forward to draw the doors open. The room beyond gleamed with soft light crystal decanters arranged on silver trays, plush armchairs set in quiet circles for conversation. The air smelled faintly of bergamot and leather-bound tomes, comforting familiar. Jennifer pulled down the doors behind him, sealing out the lobby's stunned silence. In that moment, the Meridian Club's hierarchy had been reshuffled, its protocols laid bare for all to see. The walls themselves seemed to lean in, acknowledging that something fundamental had changed. In this house of privilege, respect must be earned and freely given, not demanded by policy alone. As the doors whispered closed, the outside world found its own reverberations. Amanda's live feed flashed new headlines. Club overhaul. After CEO's son exposes bias. Legal teams were alerted, PR strategists activated. Across the city, boardrooms buzzed with frantic phone calls, an urgent scramble to rewrite procedures and restore public trust. But in the hushed grandeur of Private Room 7, Marcus Williams stood alone for a moment, gathering his thoughts. His business card rested in his jacket pocket, a tangible reminder of privilege's double edge capable of elevating or humbling in a single gesture. Behind the closed doors, he faced his business partner, Mr. Yamamoto, who had just arrived and now took in the scene with a measured smile. The twilight glow from the Park Avenue windows painted Yamamoto's suit in soft shadow and light. He extended a hand. "Welcome," Yamamoto said. "I trust your embrace of integrity is why we're here today." Marcus returned the shake firmly. "It's why I brought you here," he replied. "Let's make sure tonight is the last time any guest faces that kind of indignity in our house." And with that, the club's new chapter began, not with grand declarations or lofty promises, but with a simple business card turned inside out to reveal the power that comes when dignity and authority meet, reshaping an institution from within. We have a discrimination crisis now. The glass doors slid open with a soft hiss, admitting Marcus Williams and his entourage to the 47th floor boardroom of Meridian Hospitality Group. The room's floor-to-ceiling windows offered a sweeping panorama of the city lights below, but tonight every set of eyes was glued to the 4 giant screens that dominated one wall. Each monitor displayed a looping live stream detailing the Marble Lobby ambush, the security verdict, the CEO coup reveal, all before Marcus had even arrived upstairs. Board members shuffled papers and murmured behind polished mahogany as Marcus set his leather briefcase on the conference table. He surveyed the 12 faces arrayed around him. Seasoned executives, seasoned skeptics, and the board chair Victoria Sterling, whose silver hair caught the overhead light. Her expression unreadable. Marcus unclasped his briefcase, removed a slim tablet, and tapped the screen. Immediately, the live feed on the screens zoomed in on the moment Sarah Chen and Jennifer Brooks realized they had questioned the wrong man the second their panic buttons and protocols collapsed under the weight of a simple business card. Clearing his throat, Marcus began, "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for convening on such short notice. You've seen the footage. Let me fill in the context." He swiped and a slide appeared, 23, the number of formal discrimination complaints filed against frontline staff in the past 18 months. The second screen showed $2. 3M lost revenue directly attributed to customer service failures and membership attrition during that same period. The third screen blazed red, 167,000 peak live stream viewers who witnessed the incident within the first hour. Each of those numbers represents real harm to our brand and to the dignity of our guests. Marcus continued, voice calm but urgent. "We can't afford to bury this. We must act and act fast." He tapped again, and the slide transitioned to viral outrage overlaying screenshots of social media backlash. Hashtags #MeridianBias and #Gate42 trending nationwide, clickable clips storming every news outlet's homepage. Victoria Sterling spoke first, her voice measured. "These figures are staggering. But what precisely are you proposing?" "Marcus?" Without hesitation, Marcus laid out his demands. First, instant terminations for the employees directly responsible, Sarah Chen, Jennifer Brooks, and any security personnel who enforced discriminatory protocols. The screens flicked to their personnel records side by side, highlighting 0 prior complaints for Brooks, but 23 for Chen, alongside a glaring record for security officers. Second, mandatory bias training for all customer-facing employees. 40 hours within the next 30 days, with performance assessments and clear benchmarks for compliance. He tapped, and a graph appeared. Companies with robust bias training saw a 47% drop in complaints within 6 months. Third, a real-time reporting system integrated into our mobile app and front desk terminals, enabling guests to file discrimination incidents instantly with guaranteed response within 24 hours. The fourth screen showed a mock-up of the UI, simple, dignified, and accessible. Finally, a thorough policy overhaul, a new dignity standard embedded in every clause of our corporate charter, enforceable at all levels with explicit zero tolerance for bias. Accountability metrics would tie to executive bonuses, and an independent third-party audit would publish quarterly reports. Silence filled the boardroom as Marcus concluded. He looked to Sterling, whose steely gaze softened into a nod. "These measures are bold," she said, "but we cannot tinker around the edges." One by one, board members voiced their support. Legal counsel Marcus Reed noted that swift action would mitigate potential civil rights lawsuits and regulatory fines under the Civil Rights Act. CFO Ronald Park confirmed the financial impact. While the training and tech rollout would cost an estimated $4 million, the long-term ROI, improved member retention and brand trust, could easily recoup that within a fiscal year. The general counsel's slide faded into a chart of competitor case studies, a major bank's $175 million settlement, an airline's $335 million penalty, and a hospitality giant's $5 million fine, all for bias-related incidents. Comparatively, Marcus said, "We're choosing the proactive path. This is an investment in our dignity and our bottom line." Within minutes, the room had shifted from shock to consensus. The motion to adopt Marcus's full slate of reforms passed 12-0, unanimous and decisive. Sterling's gavel tapped once, twice, 3 times, each strike resonating like a verdict justice enforced by corporate decree. As the last echoes faded, Marcus closed his briefcase. "Thank you," he said, voice warm but firm. "Implementation begins at dawn. I expect detailed schedules on my desk by 8 a.m. Victoria Sterling rose. "We'll hold a press conference tomorrow morning to lead with transparency. Let the world know Meridian Hospitality Group sets the standard for inclusive service." Board members dispersed, some lingering to shake Marcus's hand, others already drafting memos for their teams. Outside the glass walls, the city lights pulsed irresistible witnesses to a boardroom coup that had halted discrimination in its tracks. Marcus lingered in the center of the room, absorbing the swift turn of events. What had begun as a marble lobby ambush had become a blueprint for systematic reform. Justice, once a conditional promise, was now codified in policy and practice. As he turned to leave, his phone buzzed a notification from social media monitoring Howard Meridian. Reform was already rising. He tapped the alert and smiled. Change, once a distant ambition, was unfolding in real time. Tomorrow the world would see how a single boardroom moved in lockstep with justice. Tonight the city slept unaware that a corporate thunderbolt had reshaped the very code of human dignity. And in that silence lay the promise of a new day, one defined not by privilege, but by principle. By dawn, the Meridian Club's grand entrance looked nothing like the scene of shame it had been just 48 hours earlier. Under the soft glow of recessed uplighting, new zero-tolerance posters hung in gleaming brass frames, each one announcing the club's unwavering commitment: discrimination ends here. Freshly printed Dignity Standards bulletins lined every reception kiosk, their bold typeface signaling a total recalibration of the club's ethos. Where panic buttons had once drawn an ominous red line, sleek mobile reporting kiosks now invited guests to document any breach of respect with a simple tap, an immediate alert routed to the newly minted Office of Member Equity. As the morning's first guests arrived, many paused to read the diversity audit summary displayed on a backlit monitor beside the valet stand. It reported last quarter's remarkable turnaround, a 62% drop in discrimination complaints, accompanied by glowing testimonials from members who felt genuinely welcomed for the first time. A gentle hum of approval rippled through the vaulted lobby as word spread among the staff that every employee from doormen to directors would soon undergo advanced bias training. Impromptu orientation sessions were already being scheduled, promising real-time simulations and role-playing scenarios that left no room for willful ignorance. By 9 a.m., reporters had descended in force. News vans idled curbside, their satellite dishes pointed upward, relaying live feeds of the transformed club facade. On the street, a steady stream of drivers lowered their windows to capture drone footage of the new compliance banners flapping in the morning breeze. Meanwhile, social media erupted with the hashtag #MeridianDignity, a trending topic nationwide. Influencers and advocates praised the club's rapid institutional reset, sharing side-by-side images of the old exclusionary lobby and the new inclusive sanctuary. Member forums buzzed with excitement. Even long-standing critics conceded that Meridian Hospitality Group had turned a crisis into a pioneering model. Inside the boardroom on the 47th floor, Marcus Williams tracked the buzz on a live dashboard, watching the stock ticker wobble. At first, an expected dip amid investor uncertainty before rebounding sharply as confidence in the reforms took hold. "Accountability sells," he murmured, noting the surge in share price once the market digested the scope of the policy blitz. He tapped a final confirmation on his tablet, sending orders to roll out the same dignity standards across all 22 of Meridian's sister clubs nationwide. One club's leap becomes an industry stride, he thought, steeping himself in the knowledge that the structural changes once fought for in a marble lobby were now irreversible. Back at Terminal 4, the ground floor lounge where the original incident had ignited the concierge desk staff now greeted every visitor with a respectful nod. "Welcome to the Meridian Club," they said, voices warm and genuine. No longer did they ask for boarding passes to verify worth only to ensure comfort. The queue moved swiftly, punctuated by appreciative smiles rather than suspicion. Even the security team patrolled with an air of guardianship, rather than gatekeeping, offering assistance to anyone who hesitated at a kiosk or wandered in with a question. By that afternoon, the ripple effect was undeniable. Local businesses reported increased patronage from guests who formerly bypassed the club, drawn back by its newfound reputation. Membership applications spiked, many citing the club's public stance on respect and equality as the decisive factor. Across social and traditional media, headlines praised Meridian Hospitality Group for turning shame into service. How one club reinvented respect in 48 hours and from profiling to protocol. A blueprint for dignity. Academic blogs dissected the case study, lauding the seamless integration of policy technology and human empathy. As the sun set on that momentous day, the club's marble floors reflected a transformation far deeper than polished stone. Ancient prejudices had been laid bare and swept away, replaced by protocols designed not merely to prevent discrimination, but to celebrate diversity. And in every corridor, conference room, and concierge station, a single truth resonated: dignity, once sidelined, was now the club's guiding light, and in that blaze of institutional renewal, the Meridian Club had become more than a private sanctuary. It had become a public promise. By sunrise, the story of a marble lobby ambush had leapt beyond Manhattan's Park Avenue. Global headlines blazed in bold type across every time zone. Meridian CEO topples private club prejudice, proclaimed the Financial Times in London. Hospitality coup. Shakes gilded gates, announced the Sydney Morning Herald. From discrimination to dignity. A new standard, read the South China Morning Post. In Tokyo, screens flickered with footage of Marcus Williams' quiet confrontation. In Dubai, oil executives paused their board meetings to share the viral clip. Even the cafes of Paris buzzed with impromptu debates over café au lait. Competitor clubs and hotel chains scrambled overnight to adopt the so-called Wellington Protocol, a suite of policies first articulated in that tense boardroom blitz just hours after the incident. By mid-morning, the protocol's cornerstones, mandatory bias training, real-time reporting kiosks, anonymous audits, and a zero-tolerance termination clause were being downloaded from Meridian's open-source reform repository by hospitality executives from Singapore to Sao Paulo. One global CEO messaged Marcus directly, "Can we license your training modules? Our brand reputation depends on this." Regulators didn't wait. Within 24 hours, the New York State Department of Human Rights announced plans to convene a working group on bias in private membership organizations. Washington's D.C. offices saw lawmakers drafting bipartisan proposals to extend federal anti-discrimination statutes into the private club domain. A hearing was scheduled before the Senate Commerce Committee in less than 2 weeks, titled "Ensuring Dignity in All Public and Private Services." Capitol Hill staffers circulated summary memos comparing the Wellington Protocol to existing nonprofit board governance standards, noting how the seamless integration of corporate accountability with social justice represents a watershed moment in American civil rights enforcement. Meanwhile, think tanks and universities pounced on the case study. The Harvard Business School's Baker Library projected the video stills onto classroom screens, prompting heated discussions about the interplay of power, privilege, and protocol. Students in London's LSE debated whether the Wellington Protocol could be codified as an international best practice for service industries. Stanford's Center for Social Innovation prepared a white paper, Beyond Compliance, Embedding Dignity in Organizational DNA. Non-governmental organizations like the UN's Global Compact for Human Rights and Employment reached out seeking to host webinars on adapting the protocol to fields as diverse as finance, retail, and healthcare. In the digital sphere, social media platforms served as amplifiers. The hashtag Meridian Dignity trended on Twitter alongside hashtag Wellington Protocol and hashtag Dignity. At work, amassing millions of mentions. Influential figures from CEOs of Fortune 500 companies to pop culture icons joined the chorus, sharing their own stories of bias and pledging support for systemic reform. A viral video montage spliced the original lobby footage with clips of employees stepping up to serve with respect, set to an inspiring orchestral score. Tears, applause, and standing ovations played out in living rooms and office break rooms around the globe, but the shockwaves weren't merely symbolic. Several major hospitality groups publicly announced commitments to integrate the Wellington Protocol into their employee handbooks. Within 72 hours, more than a dozen private club associations and hotel conglomerates had either signed formal memoranda of understanding with Meridian Hospitality Group or released parallel protocols of their own design. A joint statement by the International Association of Hotel and Restaurant Suppliers declared, "We believe in service without bias. We stand behind the standards set by Meridian Standards that transform hospitality into an inclusive art form." As the sun set on that second day of reforms, the ripple reached the boardrooms of the world's largest corporations. At BlackRock's headquarters, the head of human capital sent a memo, "Lessons from Meridian Reframing DEI, from Policy to Practice." At Microsoft, the vice president of global people operations scheduled an urgent equity review meeting, citing the public response to the Wellington Protocol. Even the oil giants in Houston and the banking titans on Wall Street shared the same 6-page digest, How Dignity Protocols Can Drive Profit Evidence from Meridian's Stock Surge. Critics attempted to downplay the frenzy, calling it momentary virtue signaling or a public relations pivot. But when earnings reports arrived the following week, market watchers were startled. Meridian Hospitality Group's shares had climbed 4.6%, outperforming every peer in the S&P 500's Lodging and Leisure Index. Analysts attributed the uptick not only to the company's bold stance on social justice, but also to the demonstrable ROI of enhanced guest satisfaction, reduced legal risk, and lower employee turnover. "Turns out dignity pays dividends," quipped one Wall Street Journal headline. The tsunami crested when world leaders weighed in. At the G7 summit in London, the British Prime Minister referenced the Wellington Protocol during a panel on economic inclusion. Canada's Minister of Diversity cited Meridian's reforms as inspiration for national guidelines on service equity. Even the EU's Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights lauded the initiative, stating that we must ensure every person, regardless of race, religion, or social status, is treated with equal respect in every corner of public and private life. Back in New York, the Senate hearing delivered fireworks. Senator Elizabeth Warren, drawing on the footage, questioned private club CEOs about their vetting processes and accountability measures. Witnesses called Meridian's leadership a blueprint for the 21st century service economy. By the time the session adjourned, draft legislation was already circulating. The Dignity in Service Act proposed to extend anti-discrimination statutes to any organization offering membership or lodging, bolstered by mandatory public reporting of service equity metrics. Amid this global maelstrom, Marcus and his executive team maintained a steady cadence of outreach. They hosted webinars for corporate counsel, consulted with regulators on best practice guidelines, and opened their digital playbook to NGOs eager to adapt the protocol for sectors beyond hospitality. Their credo, "Dignity is a right," not a rhetoric, became a mantra repeated in boardrooms, classrooms, and cafe conversations from Mumbai to Mexico City. By week's end, what had started as one man's calm reclamation of respect in a private club had evolved into a universal call to action. From gilded lobbies to legislative chambers, the ripple had indeed become a tsunami, transforming industry standards, elevating social justice norms, and proving that a single act of corporate courage could ignite reform on a global scale. And so as the world turned the page on Meridian's extraordinary saga, One truth endured when prejudice is confronted with dignity and injustice, answered with decisive power and a clear plan. The shockwaves echo far beyond any single moment, reshaping systems, rewriting policies, and forging a legacy of respect that no lobby boardroom or statute can ever erase. 2 years have passed since that charged afternoon in the Meridian Club's marble lobby, and the reverberations of Marcus Williams' quiet assertiveness have only grown louder. What began as a solitary stand against prejudice now echoes through every corner of the hospitality world. In these 24 months, discrimination complaints at Meridian Hospitality Group have plummeted by 70%. Boardrooms compare equity metrics alongside revenue forecasts. Hospitality schools dissect the Gate 42 showdown as a required case study. And in every lobby from Manhattan to Mumbai, frontline staff greet each guest with an unwavering pledge of respect. When I step off the elevator into Meridian's gleaming headquarters, I'm greeted by a digital ticker running across the lobby wall. Industry-wide discrimination complaints. 70% followed by employee bias training completion, 100% in customer satisfaction plus 18%, across all demographics. These aren't just numbers. They're shorthand for a cultural transformation that grew out of a single decisive moment in a private club's elegant foyer. In the 2 years since Marcus laid down his CEO card, Meridian's leadership made a bold choice. They refused to bury the embarrassment of that incident behind private settlements or forked-tongue statements. Instead, they tore out the roots of bias. By codifying the Wellington Protocol, the very blueprint of reforms Marcus hammered out in an emergency board meeting minutes after his public vindication. The protocol mandated zero-tolerance terminations for discriminatory conduct, anonymous real-time reporting kiosks in every service area, monthly diversity audits by independent counsels, and mandatory scenario-based bias training for every customer-facing role. Walking through the corridors, it's impossible to ignore the telltale signs of this overhaul. Discrete digital panels at every reception desk invite guests to rate their experience for dignity and respect. Frontline employees carry badges that read Dignity Ambassador, a title that once would have sounded grandiose but now simply signifies a core job requirement. The scent of fresh paint on new Dignity Standards posters still lingers on the walls, a reminder that change is both permanent and ever-renewing. I slip into the conference room where Marcus holds court with his executive team sparring over the next wave of innovations. His calm presence is the same measured authority we saw that day at Gate 42, but now it's tempered by empathy, honed over countless speaking engagements from Harvard Business School to the United Nations. He reminds his team that the true power of leadership lies not in proclaiming policy, but in living it. Today's agenda includes proposals to extend Meridian's training modules into partner networks, hotels, airlines, even retail chains have asked to license the Dignity Check app. Originally built for airport lounges and club foyers, the app now monitors customer service interactions. In real time, guests can rate their treatment for respect, and AI algorithms flag any pattern of bias for immediate managerial review. Marcus leans back and smiles. Who would have thought a live stream at Gate 42 would lead to a software suite that reshapes entire industries? He credits the program's success to 3 pillars: documentation leverage and systematic change. Documentation, because nothing kills prejudice like evidence, video clips. Audit logs, anonymous reports. Leverage, because when a company's reputation and stock price hinge on equitable service compliance ceases to be optional. And systematic change, because policies alone can't transform hearts and minds. Without continuous reinforcement training, audits public accountability leadership example. I remember interviewing Marcus after that viral hearing on Capitol Hill, where senators held up the Gate 42 footage and pledged to extend anti-discrimination laws into private domains. He said then, when authority is challenged in real time and captured for the world, bias has nowhere to hide. Power and accountability must move in tandem. Today we see exactly how that principle has reshaped the industry. Companies that once buried complaints behind gag agreements now publish quarterly equity reports. Hotels that once shrugged at bias now embed inclusive protocols in every guest interaction. Airlines that once saw discrimination as isolated incidents now view it as a systemic risk to be rooted out. Across the city, the Scholars Table restaurant, a Meridian partner, is buzzing with activity. I slip in for lunch and notice something remarkable. The hostess greets each arriving party with the same warm, "Welcome. How can I ensure your comfort today?" No assumptions. No cursory smiles followed by internal eye rolls. I ask her why her approach feels so different. She tells me she trained under the Dignity Ambassador curriculum, practicing scenarios where guests might trigger unconscious bias. I realized it wasn't about suppressing prejudice. She says it was about unlearning it and learning empathy instead. That unlearning extends beyond hospitality. In local universities, the Gate 42 case enters curricula in business ethics, human resources, and social justice programs. I sat in on a lecture at NYU's Stern School of Business where students debated whether the Wellington Protocol could become an ISO standard for service equity. Class presentations ranged from courtroom-style arguments to marketing pitches for equity as a service. One group proposed bias-free certification seals for any company that meets publicly reported dignity metrics. Their passion felt contagious here was a generation determined to build bias-resistant institutions at scale. Meanwhile, philanthropists sparked by the Thompson family's example poured resources into the Dignity in Transit Foundation, which funds scholarships for underrepresented students, supports community-led equity audits, and underwrites technology that flags bias across customer service platforms. The Foundation's annual report shows grants awarded to nearly 1,000 young leaders who now champion inclusive practices in sectors from tech to healthcare to public service. Their message is simple: respect isn't a courtesy, it's an operational imperative. In Washington, the legislative momentum has swelled. Congress passed the Dignity in Service Act last spring, extending non-discrimination protections to private membership organizations, travel services, and even digital platforms. The law requires public disclosure of equity audits and imposes civil penalties for systemic bias. I watched as the floor speeches cited Gate 42 footage alongside historic civil rights moments, an echo of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s call for equal dignity in every public space. 2 years later, Meridian's own quarterly earnings are a testament to the payoff of principled leadership. Customer retention is at an all-time high. Employee turnover is at record lows. Brand sentiment and social listening is overwhelmingly positive. Wall Street analysts marvel that Meridian's commitment to dignity has become a sustainable competitive advantage. In earnings calls, Marcus smiles when asked about the correlation between equity measures and profitability. We learned that doing the right thing isn't just moral, it's smart business. As I leave his office and step back into the lobby, the same digital ticker now scrolls new headlines. Industry adopts Wellington Protocol as standard. Government extends anti-bias oversight to all service sectors. Dignity in service, the new measure of corporate health. Each line reminds me how far the industry has come and how one act of courage in a marble lobby can set an entire world on a better course. In that lobby, now bathed in soft afternoon light, I see staff pausing to greet every guest with genuine warmth. No more snap judgments, no more assumptions. The elegance of the space remains, but its spirit has shifted from exclusivity to inclusivity. The silence of compliance has been replaced by the hum of respect. And so the legacy endures. 2 years after that watershed moment, discrimination complaints continue to plummet, and a global movement for dignity and service gains unstoppable momentum. Business schools study the case, regulators refine laws, and citizens carry forward the simple truth. Marcus Williams proved when you pair power with a plan and choose dignity over silence, you can reshape an entire industry and leave a legacy of respect that becomes non-negotiable.